Welcome back, AP Psychology students. We're looking at part 2 of classical conditioning. So we're going to look at a few other concepts that go with classical conditioning, and then we're going to do some practice together, and hopefully that'll kind of bring it all together for you. So last time we talked about the basic components like the conditioned stimulus, conditioned response, unconditioned stimulus, unconditioned response. So we're going to continue on with that with a few other processes. So the first one, this first term is called acquisition. This just means to acquire the response. So this is just the pairing of the unconditioned stimulus and the conditioned stimulus. So this is the pairing of the food, the unconditioned stimulus, and the bell. So as you pair those together, the relationship formed for the person or the dog, whatever the organism is, that's the acquisition, the learning the association, and the response that comes from that. With acquisition, a couple of things that might affect how this happens. Time. So if the learning occurs over a longer period of time, that's going to lead to a stronger acquisition. Think of it kind of like the spacing effect if you keep doing it over several days versus over the course of just a few minutes. And also the strength of the conditioned response. So for the dogs, that's the salivating to the bell. If it's a stronger response, it's going to happen quicker than if it's a weak response. So we'll talk about some examples of that shortly. The next one is this idea of extinction. So when Pavlov trained the dogs, you go bell, food, bell, food, bell, food. They go through the acquisition phase, but then he would then go through the extinction process. So he would go bell, no food, bell, no food, bell, no food, over and over and over. And eventually the dogs learned, oh, when this bell rings, I'm not going to get food anymore. So it weakened the association between the bell and the food. And eventually the dogs would stop salivating to the bell. And when they did that, they've gone through the extinction process. If you think about like dinosaurs, they're extinct, they're gone. So now the response, the association is gone. You can see here the extinction process, the rate at which it happens. I'm not terribly worried that you memorize that, but it kind of does look like the Ebbinghaus-Vergenning curve a little bit. It happens initially rapidly and then it slows down a bit. And then you have what's called spontaneous recovery. So what he found was after going through the extinction process and now the dogs don't salivate to the bell anymore, he would wait a period of time, maybe a few hours or a day or more. And then he'd ring the bell and the dogs would salivate some. So that connection between the bell and the food was not totally gone. I mean, the dogs, they weren't responding here, but somewhere in the mind they realized at some point, maybe later on, that bell will ring and the food will come back. So they tried that, and sure enough, the dogs did salivate. It wasn't as strong as the initial acquisition, so they would do the spontaneous recovery, and then they'd go through the extinction process again. And then generalization. So if you present something that's similar to the conditioned stimulus, so in this case with Pavlov, if you maybe you do a chime or a buzzer or something like that, and so if the dogs salivate to the bell and also to the chime, they respond to something that's similar to the bell, they would be generalizing. So it's the tendency for a stimuli similar to the conditioned stimulus, so similar to the bell, to evoke similar responses. So the dogs would salivate to the bell, also to the chime. And then discrimination is just the opposite. So that's the ability to tell the difference between two things. So if the dogs did not salivate to a buzzer, they would salivate to the bell, but not to a buzzer. They learned the difference between the conditioned stimulus, the bell, and things that are different enough that they don't evoke the response. We're going to do a few examples together. Thought it might be helpful just to kind of go through this process and kind of talk about these. So I've got a few examples we'll go through together, and maybe that'll help. So the first one, and these are all based on true stories, by the way. If you have pets at home, like especially if you have cats, you might know that they love themselves some tuna. They like to eat that. So what you could do is you could actually train, if you use like an electric can opener to open those cans, you can actually train the cat to get excited to the sound of the can opener. And if you have dogs, you might, like if you have your food in a specific container and they see you go to that container, they hear the noise from the container, you might notice they get really excited and they'll run up to you. They've been classically conditioned. They've also been operantly conditioned, but that's for later. So let's go through the different components. So the neutral stimulus, which becomes the conditioned stimulus, this would be like the bell, that's going to be the sound of the can opener. Because playing the sound of a can opener should not really make a cat excited unless they've learned to associate it with something. The unconditioned stimulus, so this would be like the food for Pavlov's dogs, what would naturally cause the cat to get excited? That's going to be the tuna, which that's very similar to food. It's natural for food to make dogs salivate. It's natural for tuna to make cats very excited. The unconditioned response, the unlearned natural response for a cat to get tuna is to get excited to the tuna. So that response is going to be to the stimulus. And then the conditioned response, the learned response, oh, and by the way, that's going to be salivating to food for using the Pavlov example. And then the conditioned response, what's the cat learning to do? Well, the dog learned to salivate to the bell. Well, now the cat is getting excited to the sound of the can opener. And again, this would, with the Pavlov example, this would be salivating to the bell. So that would be just kind of a basic example. If you had generalization, the cat gets excited to the can opener. Maybe they also get excited by the microwave. Maybe. And then discrimination, they don't get excited by the microwave or some other appliance. They've learned the difference between those two things. Let's do another one. I'll tell you a quick story about me and the Hy-Vee salad bar. So many years ago, I went to the Hy-Vee salad bar. I used to go there all the time. I ate the Hy-Vee salad bar. I went home, and within a couple of hours, I got sick as a dog. I don't know if it was the flu. I don't know if it was food poisoning. Not quite sure. But either way, to this day, I cannot eat Hy-Vee salad bar. Just thinking about it, even right now, makes me kind of, I don't like it. So let's go through this. Let's see if we can identify the different parts. So the neutral stimulus, which becomes the conditioned stimulus. So with Pavlov, this was the bell. For this example, it would be Hy-Vee salad bar. Hearing about or seeing the Hy-Vee salad bar should not make me feel nauseous. The unconditioned stimulus, what would naturally make me sick or nauseous, would be, let's just say it was food poisoning or flu or whatever. So the two things that I'm learning to associate is the Hy-Vee salad bar and the food poisoning. Again, the whole purpose of classical conditioning is to allow you, whether you're right or not, to anticipate the future. I'm anticipating with the Hy-Vee salad bar that when I eat that or when I see that, it's going to cause me to have the flu or food. I'm going to get sick. The unconditioned response, the natural response to food poisoning or the flu is to feel nauseous. So another thing to consider here is that the unconditioned response will always be to the unconditioned stimulus, and then the conditioned response will always be to the conditioned stimulus. I know that a lot of words that sound a lot alike. It takes a little practice, but we'll get you there. the conditioned response. So the learned response would be, what am I now doing when I hear or see the Hy-Vee salad bar? I'm getting sick or nauseous to the Hy-Vee salad bar. And I guess I need to clarify here. The unconditioned response is feeling sick or nauseous to the food poisoning. You do want to articulate the difference there because it's different. It's natural to get sick when you have food poisoning. It is not natural to get sick to looking at a Hy-Vee salad bar. That has to be a learned response. Let's look at some of these other terms. Generalization. I get sick to the Hy-Vee salad bar, and I also get sick to the school salad bar. Discrimination would just be the opposite. I don't get sick to school salad bar or, at other restaurants. And then those other terms, like extinction, that would just be, let's say I go to Hy-Vee salad bar repeatedly and eventually going there doesn't make me feel nauseous. And then spontaneous recovery would be, I go through the extinction process, I don't feel nauseous anymore, and then maybe I go several months later, I walk up to the Hy-Vee salad bar and I'm like, ugh, gross. And I start to get that feeling again. So we'll do some more practice with these. It takes a little bit of practice to kind of to iron it out and kind of to feel comfortable with these. So if you're still a little shaky, don't worry just yet. But definitely bring questions to class, and we'll do some more examples together. So that's a good place to stop for now, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, guys.